that mindset of anything this morning. I don't know what he may do. Anything may happen. Somebody might get healed, Elvis. Somebody might get delivered. Somebody might get restored. I don't know what may happen, but anything. Somebody say anything. Anything can happen today. Nehemiah 4. Verse 10. Verse 10. Elder Hood, can you pass me my towel right there, sir? Verse 10. When you have it, say amen. Amen. If you don't, thank you, sir. Just go ahead and look at the screens. Nehemiah 4. And it says, then Judah said, the strength of the laborers is failing. And there is so much rubbish that we're not able to build the wall. Just that one verse right there preached by itself. Because somebody is feeling like that right now as you put these pieces back together. That it's so many pieces, it's so much, but my arms, I'm getting tired. And an adversaries have said they will never know nor see anything till we come into their midst and kill them and cause the work to cease. So it was when the Jews who dwelt there near came, then they said to us 10 times, get this, 10 times, not the enemy, but the other Jews. From whatever place you turn, they will be upon us. Therefore I positioned them behind the lower parts of the wall at the openings, and I set people according to their families with their swords, with their spears, and with their bows. So let me tell you something real quick. As you put these pieces back together again, you're going to have one hand working and the other hand ready to fight. Because the enemy is coming with everything that he can to get you off course, Sister Renata, and what you're doing. So you can't stop working, but I got to beat the hell out of the devil when he shows up. And I looked and arose and said to the nobles, to the leaders, and to the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, the great and awesome. And fight for your brethren, and fight for your sons, and fight for your daughters, and fight for your wives, and fight for your houses. And it happened when the enemy heard that it was known to us and that God had brought their plot to nothing, that all of us returned to the wall and everyone to his work. Real quick, I want you to turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't matter what it looks like. Doesn't matter what it feels like. Be encouraged because it's worth fighting for. Come on, find you another neighbor on the other side and say, neighbor, it's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. In fact, touch you 3 people around you, tell me it's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. It's worth, give me a little bit more on the monitor. It's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. You may be seated in the presence of God. It is worth fighting for. Dr. Tasha, the Lord told me to tell you that your next time won't be like your last time. Your next time, I declare and I decree that your next time will not be like your last time. You were disappointed this time around. But next time, when you take that test, there's going to be a praise that's going to go forth in the house. But you're going to come in around and praising God. And based off your praise, we're going to know that it's already done. But I triple down dare you real quick to give God a pre-praise and stop the devil and let him know that my next time is not going to be like my last time. Oh no. Oh no it won't. Oh no it won't. Oh no it won't. I bind discouragement. I bind discontent. I bind frustration in the name of Jesus. Stop out with your name again and tell them it's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. Well, if I was a preacher that hollered, I would holler right now, but I don't really holler, so I'm not going to holler. That's not really my thing, but if I would, Mother Son, if I was a hollering preacher, I would go, holler right there. Oh, this work, this work, this work, this work. This work, this work, this work fighting for. It's worth fighting for, it's worth fighting for, it's worth. It's worth. It's worth. It's worth fighting for. It's worth. Come on, y'all. Calm down. Sit down. Don't start nothing. There won't be nothing. Sit down. Sit down. Stop right now. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. It's worth. It's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. Oh God. It's worth. It's worth. It's worth, Pastor Hewitt, it's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting. It's worth fighting for. Hallelujah. There will come a time in your life, and if you have not experienced it yet, just keep living a little while longer. And you will have a time in your life, Elder Corey, where you are striving to do something so great, so amazing, so awesome. And in fact, you're excited about it, you're excited about it, you're excited about it, you're excited about it. And you know that what you're doing is from God. You know that He's spoken to you about a thing, but you will have something, or you will have someone that will come along and just speak just a few words, Carla, and get you so discouraged that you will cease in what you're doing. As we've been talking about putting the pieces back together again, as you have been putting these pieces back together again, many of us, we have been looking at the rubbish. We have been looking at the pieces. We have been looking at the mess, Dr. Eli, and we're seeing everything that's around us, and we have the plan. We have been praying. We have been strategizing. We have been talking to God, and God talking to us. But there's someone that's come along and said one thing. It's causing us to pause on our rebuilding process. Like I said, Sister Greta, if you have not experienced this yet, you will experience it sometime in your life. And sometimes you'll even experience it multiple times in your life. I remember when we were in transition as a church, and many of you all already know this story. For the new ones, your first time hearing it, but we were in transition. I was interim pastor. God told me to let it go and to give it to the other candidate. I did just that, and the Lord told me to stay. The Lord told me to stay. I said, okay, God, are you serious? You told me to apply to be the next pastor of the church, and now you tell me to release it and give the tenureship to another pastor, and you want me to stay and serve. You want me to stay and serve under my competition. On the weekend of my 25th birthday, I said, Jesus, you got jokes for real. You got jokes for real. So I did just that. I bit my pride. I bit everything that I knew Jethro, and I stayed in spite of other pastors calling me swears. And you are dumb. You are a fool. What are you doing? How in the world are you going to stay and serve under your competition? No, you're the one that should be the pastor, Swims, not him. What are you doing? You're staying there and you serving. I was called the flunky and everything else. You want to stay and serve?
Come on.
God, I'm trying to do what you told me to do. But I'm being mocked and ridiculed for obeying you. This is how Nehemiah felt. This is how Nehemiah felt. Nehemiah, now, if you've been with us these past 3 weeks, we've gone from Nehemiah 2, and here we are in chapter 4. Nehemiah starts off, he gets the news that the walls in Jerusalem, Dr. Eli, have fallen, and there is no safety for the people, and everybody's life is lying in the ruins now because the walls, their protection, Pastor Hewlett, is no longer there any longer. Nehemiah get the news. He's trying to figure out what is going to happen. God, what are you going to do? How is this thing going to be fixed? And Nehemiah began to pray. And to Nehemiah's surprise, he was the answer to his own prayer. God said, Nehemiah, if there's ever going to be any restoration, if there's ever going to be any rebuilding, I'm going to use you to be the catalyst to be able to bring in this change, to bring this restoration that these people are in need of in their lives. I'm going to use you. I'm going to empower you. I am going to sanction you. I am going to anoint you to be able to do what needs to be done. If there's ever going to be any change in your life, God has said, I'm not going to use your husband. I'm not going to use your neighbor. I'm going to use you. And all I need you to do is to be an open vessel for me to be able to use. Nehemiah takes on the task and he gets permission from his king. Now get this now. Nehemiah is doing the work of God, but his king is a pagan king. Does not even worship the same God that he worshiped.
All right.
But God gives him favor with a pagan king to go and do his work. So he goes off, he starts the process. He goes out there. What Nehemiah does is he takes 3 days. You guys already know this. I'm just bringing us up to speed. He takes 3 days. 3 days he goes down there with nobody, just a few people, and the donkey that he rode in on to scoop out the scene, to assess the scene, and to know what's really happening, what's really going on. Because now what he's doing, he's praying and he's strategizing. How am I going to do what God has called me to do? How am I going to begin to put these pieces back together again? How is all of this going to come together? So he's lining it out, Carl. He's strategizing. He's praying, Sister Baker, about how everything is going to come together. And so after he does that, he draws the attention of a few other like-minded people.
All right.
He said, come on, I got a vision. I got a vision. If you're not afraid to get your hands on it, if you're not afraid of a little sweat, if you're not afraid of a little hard work, listen, we're going to begin the process of putting these walls back together again. And he does it. Chapter 3 outlines all the different people that came alongside Nehemiah to begin the process of rebuilding. But what I love so much about chapter 3 is that as they began to rebuild, Sister Grant, as they put one part together, Dr. Eli, as they began to put the doors together, as they put the doorposts together, they will stop and consecrate. They will stop and consecrate everything they had done thus far back to God. Why did they stop to consecrate what they had done? Because they realized what we are trying to rebuild, God's going to use this for his glory. Okay, y'all missed that point. That was a good shouting spot right there. That they realized we're going to stop and consecrate whatever part of the building that we're doing, because God is going to use this for his glory. Somebody should have got excited on today. That at the fact that as I'm putting the pieces back together in my life, with my family, with my marriage, God is going to get the glory out of this stuff. It may not look good right now. It may not look like it should right now. But God's going to get the glory out of it. So Nehemiah is doing that. Working. In chapter 4, Sanballat and Tobias gets word that these feeble Jews, these weak Jews are there building they're in Jerusalem, and they have the audacity to put these walls back together. Sanballat and Tobias, they're upset because you have to understand these walls have been lying in ruins for almost 100 years. Nobody has tried to do anything. They just laid there. So Sanballat and Tobias, they are encouraged because it's been 100 years, Brother Baker. It's been 100 years, Renata. There is no way, because now get this, it's not just rubbish, but it's burnt pieces. How in the world are you going to take burnt scraps, Sharita, and put them back together again and make something whole? 100 years it's been this way. The smell of smoke is gone now, Minister Lynn. 100 years.
That's it.
Sanballat and Tobias just knew, we got it now. Ain't no way. Ain't no way they're ever going to be able to put stuff back together. Nehemiah made up in his mind and publicly made a declaration to the people. Let's come together, let's work, and let's get this wall back up. You have to understand this. You might want to write this down real quick. You want to write this down real quick. Public declaration brings public opposition, humiliation, and opinions. Okay, let me say it again. Public declaration brings public opposition, humiliation, and opinions. Pastor Swims, what are you trying to say? It was not until you opened up your mouth and said, my marriage is going to be whole. It was not until you opened up your mouth and said, I'm keeping myself until I'm married. It was not until you opened up your mouth and said, I'm getting my money right. It was not until you opened up your mouth and said, I'm getting my health together, that now all of a sudden, people come out the woodworks. And got something to say. Oh, y'all think I'm lying. Look at chapter 4. Look at chapter 4. Look at chapter 4. Saints, I told y'all I'm a Bible preacher, so you have to follow me along in the Bible. If you go back up to chapter 4, look at verse 2. You got to keep your Bible open here at Hopewell, because we preach from the Bible. We teach from the Bible. And it says, and he spoke before his brethren and the army of Samaria and said, what are these feeble Jews doing? Mocking them. Will they fortify themselves? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they complete it in a day? Will they revive the stones from the heap of rubbish stones that have been burnt? Sanballat and Tobias they're mocking Nehemiah and his team. He said, what are these weak people going to do with this bunch of disgrace? What are these weak individuals? Are they going to do this in a day? Are they going to make sacrifices to God? Will they ever be able to get this thing done? It was not until Nehemiah publicly opened up his mouth and said, the work is going to be done. You have to be careful, saints of God, that when you open up your mouth and you let the devil and all of his imps know that no matter what you have done, I'll put my life back together again, that you're going to have people that listen, never had an opinion before. Come out the woodworks, Kathy, and have something to say. Where have you been all of my life? But now all of a sudden, flesh, you got something to say. You have an opinion about something. But here's the thing that you have to remember, and you have to understand, saints of God, that if this thing is worth fighting for, you have to make up in your mind that there is no imp, there is no Negro, there is no Negrette that's going to stop me from doing what God has called me to do. There is not enough opposition to stop me from seeing my marriage being whole. There's not enough opposition to stop me from seeing my kids being whole. There is not enough hell you can send my way to see myself being whole in my emotions. You must make up in your mind that come hell or high water, I'm going to be everything that God wants me to be. Now that's the problem that we have now, because when you look at verse 10, the Bible says, after Tobias and Sanballat now have been mocking Nehemiah and the other Jews. Yeah. Your word, he said, look at verse 10. They said, the strength of the laborers is failing. It's too much rubbish. It's too much work. Too many pieces. We thought some parts were going to be able to come back together, but it's too much, Elder. It's too much. It's too much. It's not. It's overwhelming now. And now we got those people that are working. Yes, Nehemiah has put them in position. Yes, Nehemiah has sanctioned people where they need to be. But now the laborers are starting to get weak. Oh, God, what do you do? What do? You're trying to put the pieces back, Renata. You're trying to put things back together. You're trying to get things in order. You're trying to line things out. But what do you do when you get tired in the middle of the project? What do you do when you're tired, when you're almost done, Sister Ross? You're almost at the finish line. But right there, you're almost at your breaking point because you're putting the pieces back. Because get this, I'm having to work and fight at the same time. And it's a whole lot of strength that's taken from me when I'm having to work and fight at the same time. He said, Nehemiah, we want to finish this thing, man. We really do. But we're tired, man. We're ready to throw in the towel, brother. We're ready to give up, Nehemiah. Listen, man, good job, good idea. You had a good heart for this thing. But maybe this is as far as we can go right now because I simply cannot take anymore. And there's some people in this room right now that you came to church this morning saying, Lord, you have to speak to me because I can't take no more right now. Oh, God, you said, God, if they only knew, if my neighbor only knew how I made up in my mind this whole week, how I'm quitting everything, everybody, and giving up on life altogether. If they only see me singing, they see me praising, they see me magnifying God, but if they only knew what was going on the inside, I'm contemplating quitting my house, I'm contemplating quitting my job, I'm contemplating quitting job, but the devil is a liar. I come to speak life into your name and speak the strength of God in you. Stop by your neighbor and say, neighbor, here's some strength. Oh yeah, here's some strength to finish your fight. Here's some strength to finish your project. Here's some strength to finish what you have to do. Because get this, you are going to finish. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how you feel, but you are going to finish. It said, Nehemiah, we can't take it no more. Because the laborers, they're failing. Because why? It's been so much external discouragement that you can take before it begins to bother you eternally. It's only so many external disappointments you can take before it begins to bother you on the inside. It's so many letdowns that you can experience from the outside that sooner or later it's going to begin to affect on the inside. And they said because the external discouragement and disappointment has overwhelmed us, so now it is bothering us eternally. Yes, Lord. You said, I gotta stop. I can't do this no more. And then what makes it so bad is that some other Jews came alongside them and said, yeah, they said they're going to kill us. And they came repeating this thing over and over again. They're going to take us out until we stop the work. It's bad enough. I'm already discouraged. But when I got some other jokers who should be strong when I'm weak, and they come alongside of me and they begin to speak to my weakness with more weakness. Come on. I'm messed up even more. Let me just go ahead and throw this out there real quick. Watch who you connected to when you're down. Watch who you connected to when you're discouraged. Because you need somebody in the camp that when I'm down and out, I don't need you to come and tell me I'm down and out. Newsflash, I already know that. I need you to come and speak life. I need you to tell me that there is still hope. I need you to tell me to get up and finish the fight. I don't need you to remind me of other stuff. Discouraged. So Nehemiah comes on the scene. I love Nehemiah, great leadership, great leader. Nehemiah comes on the scene right there in verse 11. He said, okay, I get it. Y'all tired. I get it. Y'all other jokers are scared. I get it. You all are afraid. But get this, you all are afraid of the enemy's threats, only their words. Right. They haven't said, they haven't come, and they haven't come and put a gun to your head or with a knife or anything like that. They've only said some words. They've only said some words. They've only shared some words after Eli. They've only spoken some words, and those words have caused the people's heart to fear.
All right.
And to be discouraged. So Nehemiah said, okay, I got it. It's all good. Look at verse 11. He said, this is what we're going to do. Look at verse 13, I'm sorry. He said, okay, this is what we're going to do. He said, because we're almost done with the project. We're almost at the finish line of the project. So it's too critical for us to stop right now. Okay? We can't stop right now in what we're doing. We can't do that. He says, so what we're going to do is, instead of us stopping, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to make some minor adjustments. Oh God, y'all gotta read this like I'm reading it. He said, I'm just going to make some minor adjustments. Look at verse 13. He's, therefore, I positioned men behind the lower parts of the wall at the openings. And I sent the people according to their families with their swords, with their spears, and with their bows. And I looked and arose and said to the nobles, to the leaders, and to the great, and to the rest of the people, do not be afraid. Remember the Lord. And awesome, and fight for your brethren, and fight for your sons, and fight for your daughters, and fight for your wives, and fight for your houses. Nehemiah said, you know what? We're not going to stop because it is too critical right now for us to stop in the middle of the project, but we are going to make some necessary adjustments. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to whine. But I'm going to make some necessary adjustments. What were their necessary adjustments? Nehemiah had to move some people around in some other areas where other people have gotten weak. Yeah, listen. He had to reposition people and put them in places to kind of give them a time out so they can gain up their strength and be able to rest. And then he put somebody else in their place. Because the work could not stop. Keep that on your mind. The work could not stop. They're almost done. They're almost at the breaking point. They're almost at the finish line. And it is too critical and too sensitive for them to stop right now. So they had to make some adjustments. I don't know who I'm talking to this morning, but you need to make some adjustments. You don't need to stop. Quitting is out of the question. Stopping is out of the question, because if you only knew how close you were to the finish line, if you only knew how close you were to being done, if you only knew how God has given an extension of his grace to empower you to keep going, to finish, you would just make some adjustments. Look at your neighbor and say, make some adjustments, make some adjustments, make some adjustments. You may have to start reprioritizing some things and saying that maybe I spent too much time trying to put this area back, well, I need to shift to this area over here. But I cannot stop. I just need to make some adjustments.
That's it.
Nehemiah is making all of these adjustments because I got people who are failing. I got people who are weak. I got people who is growing weary and growing tired. And on top of that, I got opposition that's coming from my enemies. Not just one enemy, but enemies. That's coming with everything that they can. Mocking me, ridiculing me, and just blasting all over the place how we would never be able to finish. Because all they saw was burnt pieces. But Nehemiah saw restoration. Come on. All they saw was just burnt little pieces just lying there on the ground. But Nehemiah saw a ministry. Nehemiah saw a message. Don't think for a second that, God, this is too much stuff. This can never turn around. This can never be fixed. I don't care how many pieces there are in your life right now that you're trying to put back together. I don't care how much opposition you have received. I don't care how the enemy may be taunting and mocking you in your ear. Don't you stop. Don't you stop. Nehemiah had to reposition and readjust to put people in critical areas. Get this, because the enemy was coming to them where they were weak at. And that's why Nehemiah had to make some adjustments. He had to readjust and he had to reposition people to put them in areas. He had to put strong people in areas of weaknesses. Because the enemy was coming to take them out at their weakness. I need somebody to realize something real quick. You need to realize what your strength and what your weaknesses are. Because the enemy is coming. How he can be able to take the breath out of you. So he can take you out. Nehemiah understood. I got to make these adjustments. I have to reposition. I have to do all of this stuff. Because this thing is worth fighting for. Look at what he says when we got to fight for. Look at that. Look at verse 13, y'all. I'm not making this up. He said it right there in verse 14, the latter part. He said, fight for your brethren. Fight for your sons. Fight for your daughters. Fight for your wives. And fight for your houses. Nehemiah was encouraging the people that what we're doing has value. Because as we're putting this wall back, this wall will benefit our homes and our lives and our families. So as we're trying to put this wall back together, we still got to fight for them as well. Because the enemy is coming. It's coming to get them. I'm done. As you're putting these pieces back together in your life, you gotta know that this thing is worth the fight that you're in right now. And I want to pray for someone today. Because many of us, we read verse 14, we read verse 15, but we're right there at verse 10. I'm failing because I'm tired. I'm failing because I'm weak right now. I'm failing because I'm vulnerable right now. And if you're at verse 10 right now, I want you to be real and I want you to make your way to this altar real quick. Real quick. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Quick, fast, and in a hurry, I want you to make your way. I'm looking for my verse 10, people. I want you to make your way to this altar. With those hands lifted to God. Those hands lifted. And as you're coming, my verse 10, people, as you're coming, I want you to talk to him. I want you to talk to him. I want you to talk to him. I need you to talk to him. He needs you to talk to him.
Because I was made for so much more.
Because I just want to encourage you that this thing is worth fighting
and
for.
I'm worth fighting for. Oh, heavy.
Giving up is not even an option. It's too late in the game now for you. I don't hear nobody talking to him. I need you to open up your mouth and talk to him. Talk to him. Talk to him. Talk to him. Talk to him.
Meant for me to soar
Said, Pastor Swims, I'm tired of dealing with the mocking. I'm tired of dealing with the opposition. I'm tired of dealing with all the naysayers I'm here. Pastor, I'm just tired. I'm tired of having to fight and work all at the same time. I don't have any more strength, Pastor.
And nothing can separate.
God, I'm tired of fighting with my family. I'm tired of fighting with my spouse. I'm tired of fighting this relationship. But it's worth. It's worth. It's worth. It's worth. It's worth. It's worth. It's worth fighting for.
That you would never leave them.
And with those hands lifted to God, I'm just going to come and just pray. As I lay my hands on you, it's just a prayer of strength today. Just a prayer of strength.